He landed 1 strike for every 7 he threw. So all those strikes where he was going like this, all missed.
You gotta trust my expert opinion.
I'm trusting the stats. Jabs. Masvidal landed 15% of his jabs.
You can't run to the stats.
No, because it's round by round. But I am just trying to tell you who had the more effective striking throughout the night. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. I'm your host, Justin, and today I am joined by Elijah, and we are going to be doing a review on Masvidal versus Diaz, the boxing fight that just happened a couple of days ago. We're going to do a little bit of a segment on who we think the next champions are going to be coming next year at International Fight Week. And then we are going to close it out with predictions for the next UFC card, which is Rose versus Cortez now. It was going to be Rose versus Barber. Now it's Rose versus Cortez. And I think we're going to do like the last 3 fights. I'll talk about that when we get to that point. But I have a chain around my neck right now, and it does not belong around my neck anymore because Jorge Masvidal got screwed out of a decision in that boxing fight. Jorge Masvidal won. Nate Diaz got the decision. Whatever you say, we're going to talk about it. But I still will give you the chain, even though I got screwed. You may put it back on. I think I did 6 defenses in a row, so I set a new record. You got a hard 6 weeks ahead of you to try and catch back up now.
What is this? 4 wins?
No. Well, it restarts. You don't get to just say that you now have another title defense next week.
I won the belt 4 times. Defended it only twice.
Yeah, I think you had a 3-fight defense streak, and I think this is your 3rd time holding it. So you're 3-3 on those stats.
Yes.
But yeah, Jorge Masvidal got screwed. He doesn't think so. I think so. We'll talk about that first. So I guess we could jump right into that segment right now because this is the 3rd podcast in a row that I'm doing. 3 days in a row I've done a podcast.
3 days.
So I am getting tired to do a podcast this week. So let's try and make this as quick as possible. Hoping 30 minutes. 30 minutes for you guys right now. So yeah, let's jump right into it. Masvidal versus Diaz.
Okay, so watching that fight, it was kind of weird kind of seeing them in like the boxing. They actually weren't as bad as I thought. Not kind of like Chael versus Anderson Silva. Granted, they're older, but I think Nate Diaz won that fight.
I don't think so because clearly it was rigged. I really do think that it was corrupt because they were in California. Boxing is always corrupt. Bro, Masvidal won that fight. I was scoring the fight live. I had it 7-3 at the end of the fight. And then all of a sudden, the judges read it 5-5, which, okay, maybe you swing 2 of those rounds to Nate Diaz. Maybe. I think
you're just cutting his jab.
To go 8-2, he landed 6 more jabs than Jorge Masvidal. Jorge Masvidal landed 40 more punches than Nate Diaz. The total landed for Diaz was 151 total punches landed. Jorge Masvidal 182.
What about body punches?
He landed 30 more. Body strikes was 6 more or 7 more to Jorge Masvidal.
That means it was even in the fight. It was an even fight.
How? Masvidal landed 30 more strikes. And let's go to the power landed. Power strikes landed. Diaz landed 115 power strikes. Jorge Masvidal landed 152. That's 40 more power strikes.
Think about it. When you're looking at Nate Diaz's combos and being more crisp, you got to look at boxing. Boxing is the setup and about like hitting and not getting hit. So when you're putting out all that output and they're seeing that, and then the footwork, and then Jorge Masvidal being hit a couple times and being laid back, and then him being stopped, it changes things.
One person got rocked more than the other, and that was Nate Diaz. Every time Jorge Masvidal hit Nate Diaz stumbled around, backed up, ran away, looked like he was dazed. He was doing that thing where he'd just turn around and walk away sometimes when he gets frustrated. He was visibly frustrated in the fight, and yet still ended up winning the decision. How? Jabs landed 36 to Diaz, 30 to Masvidal. So you're telling me that 6 jabs over the course of an entire fight won Nate Diaz this fight? 6 jabs over a 10-round fight won Nate Diaz
I
this
think
fight.
his footwork and his coordination was just a lot better.
But that doesn't matter. Who was landing the more effective strikes? Who was hurting the other person more? Who looked like they were more dazed?
Who looked like the better complete boxer?
Jorge Masvidal throwing the cleaner combos. Nate Diaz's was all pillows.
And when you look at strikes,
Nate Diaz went like this the entire time. That's not effective boxing. This is not effective boxing. I'm sorry, it's not. Throwing strikes to someone's like chest and to like their side and their arms is not effective.
I think you're underestimating.
No, I think I'm estimating him the exact way that I watched him box on Saturday.
Oh.
I am clearly and precisely stating exactly how I saw Nate Diaz fight.
You got to look at strikes that contribute towards the end of a match.
Who was throwing the cleaner strikes? Who was throwing the more powerful strikes? It was Nate.
Diaz.
No, it was Jorge Masvidal. Yo, clip. This is gonna be clipped. Please tell him in the comments right now that Jorge Masvidal was throwing the more powerful
Diaz
strikes.
Had the better strikes, and I think you're seeing it from like a biased standpoint for liking Jorge Masvidal better.
Everyone watching this right now, maybe Nate Diaz won the fight. If you think so, fine. That is okay. Whatever. Who was landing the more powerful strikes? Even if you still think Nate Diaz won, who was landing the more powerful strikes? If you can't admit Masvidal was landing the more powerful strikes, then you're kidding yourself. Because every strike Nate Diaz landed was one of those just random freaking not... Masvidal
I think his combos always started off strong, especially with the body shots and then the outer jabs.
Masvidal is so much cleaner in his boxing. His boxing was so much more crisp. He looked like a real boxer when he threw combos. Nate Diaz looked like he was just throwing just to score little tiny punches and then still managed to get outlanded. So I don't get it.
I think that's because you like Masvidal's style more and the way he was fighting that fight versus Nate Diaz's
I like
fight.
effective striking more than ineffective striking.
They both had effective striking.
No, because Nate Diaz...
one of the refs had it even.
So Masvidal landed 28% of his strikes thrown. Diaz landed 20%. That means
around the same.
No, that is a big difference, especially when Masvidal threw. The total strikes thrown by Masvidal was 654, and he landed 182. Diaz threw 740 and only landed 150. He missed 6 of his 7 strikes. He landed 1 strike for every 7 he threw. So all those strikes where he was going like this, all missed.
You gotta trust my expert opinion.
I'm trusting the stats. Jabs. Masvidal landed 15% of his jabs.
You can't run to the stats.
No, because it's round by round. But I am just trying to tell you who had the more effective striking throughout the night. We can go argue round by round on one of our fight reviews.
Last round?
We can go argue round by round on one of our fight reviews. We could do this fight for our fight reviews like we did for DDP and Strickland. I'm happy to do that. We can pull it up on the TV. We'll have a camera set up here, and we'll do the whole thing on the TV.
Yes.
I'd be happy to go round by round with you. But I am saying right now that my argument is who had the more effective striking? Clearly Jorge Masvidal. Nate Diaz looked so ineffective that it looked comical. Yes, it looked comical. Nate Diaz striking looked absolutely funny.
I'm flabbergasted by that.
He landed less... Okay, power strikes landed. Percentage, Jorge Masvidal, 34%. Nate Diaz, 27%. In every single statistical category, Jorge Masvidal beat him, other than the 6 jabs that Nate Diaz landed.
You can say that about Strickland and DDP. And Strickland still lost.
But then there's extra elements to that. There's head kicks.
Just like boxing.
No. There's head kicks. There's body kicks.
Look at Masvidal's clinch. He kept trying to clinch. He was getting tired.
There was no clinching until like the 9th round. This was the cleanest boxing fight that I've ever watched because they didn't clinch. Real boxers always clinch. These guys didn't clinch until like round 9. So this is completely different. These were 2 MMA fighters going into a boxing ring, and Masvidal had the cleaner boxing, which clearly, I don't get how there's an argument that Masvidal had the cleaner boxing. You can still argue that Nate Diaz won, but you can't argue that Masvidal didn't have the cleaner boxing. He was the cleaner fighter.
Picture.
He landed a higher percentage, more strikes, and looked cleaner. If you get all 3 of those categories, then you are the more effective boxer. Nate Diaz looked like he was wildly swinging, landed less punches, and landed a lower percentage. It's just simple math. Masvidal, And I'm still fine with you arguing that Nate Diaz won. You could still make the argument, oh, Nate Diaz took at least 6 of those rounds, which means he wins. You could still make that argument.
7 of them.
And I had it 7-3 Masvidal. And I still don't understand how one judge sees it as a tie, one judge sees it as 8-2 Diaz, and then one scores it as 7-3 Diaz. That makes no sense. One has it as a tie and one has it 8-2 to Diaz. That's ridiculous, and it was rigged. I'm sorry. It was in California.
Do you think it was really rigged?
I genuinely believe that boxing is corrupt.
Do you think an 8-2 Diaz is off?
I think that 8-2 Diaz is the most ridiculous scorecard that I have seen since Paulo Costa beating Sean Strickland 49-46. That was more ridiculous. But this was very close behind. Very close. I gave Nate Diaz like round 1, like round 4, and like round 7. Yeah. That was like it. I gave him like 1 round every couple of rounds. But that was only because Masvidal just stopped throwing occasionally. Like there were some rounds where Masvidal just took the round off and he didn't throw anything. Like the first round, Masvidal didn't throw anything in the first round. So I said, all right, well, Nate Diaz, he landed more strikes in the first, so I'll give it to him. Every other round, Masvidal started turning it up. So I don't understand the argument. I don't think I'll ever understand the argument. We'll have to do this on a fight review one day.
Well, we definitely do.
I'll be a man. You have the title. You are reigning champ. Bad judges' scorecards happen all the time in MMA, and those guys just suck it up and they give up their title. It happens. You won on a bad scorecard. You're starting off your reign as the Aljamain Sterling of the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. You're just going to have split decision after split decision. You're going to beat up some broken guy, and then you're going to lose your title by knockout. I'm just saying, man. When I had my reign, I was an effective.
You got to think about it. I had 2-3 interim reigns.
There's no interim titles.
I had interim reigns.
If anything, this should give me an interim title for how bad this judge's scorecard was.
That doesn't work like that.
Well, all I'm saying is that this was terrible. I got screwed on Pantoja beating Ursig, and I got screwed again.
We could do Pantoja versus Ursig.
We will do that too. Pantoja Ursig. We'll do this one. Diaz Masvidal in boxing. Fight reviews are going to be popping off. We got to do more of them. I think we should do a fight review every week because we got a lot of differing opinions on a lot of stuff. It all started with Strickland DDP. That was the one we argued about every day for like 5 weeks at work.
You should have seen this guy when he thought Colby was going to beat Leon.
All right, yeah, I thought Colby was going to beat Leon. I didn't know that Colby was going to be a pussy that entire fight. I didn't know. Like, how was I supposed to know that Colby was just going to not fight? I didn't know that he was going to not do anything.
Isn't Leon versus Bilal next?
Yeah. And we'll get to that review show the week before the 26th. So probably around like the 24th, we'll probably do that, and it'll probably come out around the 26th.
Yeah.
So, we'll end up doing that around then. But other than that, you got anything else to say about Jorge Masvidal versus Nate Diaz, or are we ready to just move on into our next segment?
New champ.
Congratulations, champ. You know what? Congratulations. Shit happens. Shit happens.
Had a good run. I respect your run.
I did have a good run, and shit happens. I should still be defending this week, but we do have another prediction to do in a little bit. But for right now, I think we should jump into the next segment, which is next year at International Fight Week, who will be our lineup of champions? Who's going to be the heavyweight champ all the way down to the strawweight women's champion? You can pull yours up on there. I'll pull mine up on here. And we will cut back in a second, and we will give our lists. All right, and we're back. If you see me a little bit glazed up right now, it's because I am sweating buckets. This is so hot in here, and we just argued. And
97 out.
It's so frustrating to try and argue with you on stuff. But all right, so we'll jump in. I think we're gonna go from strawweight, and we'll make our way all the way up to heavyweight. So we'll start women's strawweight with Zhang Weili is the current champ. Who will be champ next year at International Fight Week?
I think still...
And talking to the mic, too, when you say it.
I think still Still Zhang Weili.
You think it'll still be Weili?
Yeah, I think she's just all around good.
So I'd agree if Tatiana Suarez doesn't end up fighting Zhang Weili. If Tatiana Suarez gets her fight, I think Tatiana Suarez will be champ by this time next year. But I don't know, man. She took like 3 or 4 years off, fought one time earlier this year, and hasn't fought since.
Yeah.
She might just be waiting for her championship match, which she is the next in line. She's number 1. So I'm going to say Tatiana Suarez. Just because I think within the next year she'll get her title fight, and I think she'll beat Weili.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next, women's flyweight. Alexa Grasso, current champ. Her next fight will be against Valentina Shevchenko after the tough season ends. But who do you think will be next year's champ by this point?
If Valentina Shevchenko wins the belt, I have Erin Blanchfield coming in and beating her next year. And if Alexa Grasso retains, she'll retain the belt next year.
If Valentina Shevchenko wins the belt, no, you know what? Screw it. Manon Fiorot. I've got Manon Fiorot as our next champ by this point next year. I think that they have their fight, Grasso versus Valentina 3. That'll play out probably sometime in November. I'm thinking that'll be on the November card at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Because they're probably not going to make it for the Sphere. I think that's what they were going to aim for.
That's going to be the John Jones fight again.
Yeah, so, but now I'm going to say Manon Fiorot by this point next year will probably be world champ. I think she beats Grasso, and I think she's got a really good shot at beating Shevchenko too. Because if you can defend that many shots by Erin Blanchfield, you can defend a Valentina Shevchenko takedown or an Alexa Grasso takedown.
Yeah.
And I think Manon is more well-rounded on the feet, so I would go with Manon Fiorot at this point next year. But I could definitely see Alexa Grasso being champ by this point next year. I don't see Erin Blanchfield because she just lost to Manon Fiorot, so I really don't... Unless Manon gets injured, I really don't see that one happening. Moving up, Raquel Pennington. She is the current champ by this time next year. She will not be the champ. I think we can both agree on that.
Either Kayla Harrison or Juliana Pena.
I'm going with Kayla Harrison. I think Juliana Pena will be the next champion, but at this point next year, Kayla Harrison. Because I think Pena probably beats Raquel within the next 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And then the Kayla Harrison fight will probably be set up for like April of next year. And I'm thinking Kayla Harrison wins against Juliana Pena after she beats Raquel.
Yeah.
So I think we're both in pretty much agreement on that. It's probably going to be Kayla Harrison. If not, then Juliana Pena. So next up, we will go up and we will do the flyweight division for the men. Right now, it's Pantoja is the current champ. Just some guys to mention in the high-up rankings. Brandon Royval, who's number 1, but he just lost to the champ. Amir Albazi, who has not fought since last year after beating Kai Kara France. Kai Kara France is fighting against Ursig, and I think whoever wins that will probably get the next title fight.
Yeah.
There are also guys high up in the rankings now like Tyra and Makayev, who are also would give a run for the money of the belt. Who do you think will be champ by this point next year?
After watching that fight with Ursig and Pantoja, I do believe Pantoja won. I do think that with the factors around him, he did enough to prove that why he's a champion, that he did have more experience than Ursig in some ways, and I do think that he did retain that belt, but I do see Ursig getting into another good fight and potentially becoming champ again because he does have good skill.
So it's so open right now in the flyweight division because I feel like if Ursig beats Pantoja, if they get a rematch and Ursig beats Pantoja, I think guys like Brandon Moreno could beat Ursig. A guy like Brandon Royval might be able to beat Ursig. Teshiro Taira, Makayev. So, I feel like it just all depends on how the division shakes up within the next year. Because I think any of these guys can beat any of these guys.
Yeah.
But if I have to put my money on someone right now to be champ by this point next year, I'm going to put my money on Teshiro Taira.
Over Makayev?
Over Makayev.
Wow.
Because I think that Makayev has the better wrestling, but I think Taira could probably submit Makayev. And I think that might be a title fight coming up soon.
Wow.
Because I think Ursig might get the rematch against Pantoja. Either way that goes, I think Taira beats him. I think Tyra beats either of them. I think Mokaev beat either of them. So it really all depends on that. But I'm going to put my money on Teshiro Tyra. Yeah, fuck the fly. So yeah, you have Irsig, and I have Tyra. That sounds good to me. Next up, we got bantamweight. Sugar Sean O'Malley, current champ. Some guys at the top of the division. The next guy up, Merab Dvalishvili. He will be next up for the title contention. Corey Sandhagen, who's fighting Umar Nurmagomedov. The winner of that will probably get a title fight after Merab versus O'Malley. Guys at the top of the division, Piotr Jan. Cheeto Vera just got a shot, but he's fighting Davison Figueiredo, so if Figueiredo wins, he'll probably be up high, probably get a title fight within the next year.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's probably going to be one of those guys. It's probably either going to be Figueiredo, Umar, Corey, Piotr Jan, or Merab, or Sugar. So if you want to throw a dark horse in there, go for it, but who do you think?
I'm going to go Merab, my dark horse, Peyton Talbot.
Ooh, by next year? I think it might be a little soon for Peyton Talbot. I think probably by International Fight Week the year after. I think maybe Peyton Talbot. But
you
right
never
now,
know. What if he gets like another 2 good knockdowns in 2-3 months? And
it's possible. I think it is totally possible. Cody Garbrandt got a title fight in this exact division and won in 1 year.
Whoa.
So who knows? But I'm going to say I got Corey Sandhagen. I got Corey Sandhagen being champ by this point next year. It's either that or Umar. I think whoever wins that.
Nurmagomedov?
Yes.
Oh, no.
I mean, he's fighting Corey Sandhagen. So if he beats Corey Sandhagen, he's going to get a title fight. And I think he wins.
Beats Corey Sandhagen.
I don't think he does either. That's why I said Corey Sandhagen for champ by next year. But if Umar wins, I think Umar's going to be champ. If Sandhagen wins, I think Sandhagen's going to be champ. So it all depends on how that shakes up in 2 weeks, if it does happen. I mean, it was supposed to happen last year at this time, and it didn't. So if it does happen, I've got the winner of that going on and beating either O'Malley or Merab or whoever's champ and probably defending it against Figueiredo and winning.
Yeah.
I don't see Figueiredo winning this title. I think he's going to be starting to take a dip somewhat soon. But, yeah, we can both agree, though. I don't think O'Malley holds this belt for too long.
You know what?
Unless he takes his money and run. If he beats Merab, he might move up to fight Ilya. And then if they fight sometime in, like, February, O'Malley might still be champ by next year in International Fight Week for the bantamweight title.
Might be double champ.
He might be double champ this time next year if he does.
If he's double champ, I think the way is, you know, hold on. Because, you know, I could see Max beating Ilya. Ilya fights Max again, beats Max. And then O'Malley beats Ilya Topuria, then becomes...
Where does Volk sit in this? Because Volk was already promised a title fight when he comes back. Against whoever's champ at the time, he's getting a title fight. So I think Volk plays into this too.
No.
But we're not there. We're not at the featherweight yet.
Yeah.
So both confirmed real quick, and then we can move on. I got Sandhagen. You had Merab. Merab. So you have Merab. I have Sandhagen, and our dark picks are I have Umar, and you have
Peyton Talbot.
All right. Now featherweight. Ilya Topuria, current champ. Alexander Volkanovski promised a number one contendership fight, or promised a title fight on his return. Max Holloway is probably next. Ortega's moving up. Yair's out of the picture. Mokaev might get a title fight within the next year. Other than that, there's not many. I mean, Diego Lopez and Dan Ige are going to run it back. Diego Lopez might run his way up the card. Definitely not Aljamain Sterling. But yeah, so go for it. Who do you think will be champ at this point
Max
next year?
Holloway. I want Max to win so bad.
Ilya Topuria. I got Ilya Topuria being champ at this
Over
point
your
next year.
favorite fighter? Have some faith, bro.
Because even if Max wins, let's say Max wins, then let's say he fights Volkanovski sometime in January. Then let's say Volkanovski wins and then fights Ilya Topuria sometime in March. And then let's say Ilya Topuria wins again and now he's back to being champ after just losing the title. I can see those guys just flip-flopping the title around, but no matter what, I kind of see Ilya Topuria being champ at this point next year. I don't know, man. My dark horse is Max Holloway. I don't know if Volkanovski... but what if Max wins and then they do Volk versus Max 4? Then I feel like Volk wins, and now Volk's champ again by this point next year.
My dark horse is going to be Aljamain Sterling because I think he beats
No, he doesn't.
Josh
No
Emmett.
one. He doesn't beat anyone.
Yeah.
He doesn't beat anyone. What about Evloev? Evloev is a better wrestler than Aljamain, and he's higher ranked. Musor Evloev.
I don't see it.
You don't see it, but you see Aljamain Sterling? They have the same style. It's just that Mikhail or Evloev has the Russian version, which is better statistically than the American version.
Aljamain has better striking. Aljamain's champ, bro. Like, he's had multiple defenses. He's defended his belt. He's done what he's done for the people.
Get me back into this Aljamain Sterling argument. Okay, I have Ilia Topuria as champ next year, and my dark horse is Max or Volkanovski. I'm going to cheat the system. I'm going with either one of them for my dark horse, because honestly, it could be either one of them. But I got Ilia as my main. All right. Lightweight, Islam Makhachev. Yeah. That was easy.
Lightweight.
I got Islam Makhachev champ by this time next year. Dark horse, Arman, maybe? No, not even. I don't have a dark horse. It's either Islam or nothing.
I have, I'll go with Arman, and then dark horse, Max Holloway.
You think Arman will be champ by this point next year? You think Arman's going to beat Islam? Really? Islam already beat Arman.
I think he has a chance because it's like Arman fought Islam on 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
And then he won rounds against him, and then he was winning on the ground game. I saw he had some good exchanges.
Okay.
So I see him winning more fights. I think it's going to be more of a competitive fight.
Let me ask you this. Islam versus Charles Oliveira. Islam knocked him down and then submitted him within a round and a half. Arman versus Charles Oliveira. Arman almost got submitted twice and couldn't finish Charles Oliveira.
I don't know. I think styles make fights because, somebody might fight someone, they fight them one way, and if somebody fights that same person, they might fight them another way. I think it's a mentality thing, and I think anything can happen. This is the fight game.
I don't think either of them dominate each other on the ground. I think their wrestling is somewhat even, but I think Islam's striking has come so much farther than Arman's.
I feel like that's a very decisive decision.
What do you mean?
Like, I feel like, are you, really, onto that thought? Like, do you really think that?
Yes. I think Islam's striking is so much better than Arman's. Right now, I think
But you don't think he can keep
above.
up?
I think Arman could keep up, but I don't think he can win. I don't think he comes close.
Because it's all about who mixes it up better, and...
Yeah, and I think Islam mixes it up much better than Arman.
But think about it. I feel like every time Islam fights, I feel like there's always a way to expose some of his weaknesses a little bit more each time.
I think it's the opposite. I think he shows less and less weaknesses every time.
Okay.
Because, he didn't show any weaknesses against his first, 10 opponents other than getting knocked out in his second fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
And then he started fighting top-tier guys like Volkanovski, Oliveira. He walked through Oliveira, and then he showed some weaknesses in the Volkanovski fight, and he showed weaknesses in the DDP fight. Or not the DDP. Well, technically DDP, Dustin the Diamond Poirier.
Yeah.
But he showed weaknesses in both of those fights, but he also then managed to finish Dustin in the second fight. So I think that his weaknesses are actually getting lessened.
Yeah.
I think he's showing more strengths than weaknesses now. But, like you said, styles make fights. Arman has a completely different style than either of those dudes, Dustin or Volkanovski. Those guys are strikers.
Yeah.
Arman's not a striker. He might have grown from the last time they fought, but I think Islam has grown faster. They were both here with striking and here with grappling, and Islam just edged him out a little bit. Since then, I think Islam has just been skyrocketing compared to Arman in the skill level. That's just my opinion, though. We'll see, but I got Islam with no dark horse. I'm not taking a dark horse. And you got Arman with, who is your dark horse?
Max.
Oh, yeah. See, if Islam is champ, Islam walks through Max. Walks through him. All right, next up, Leon Edwards at welterweight. Who do you got next year champ at this point? I know.
Shavkat
Rakhmonov. I agree. I think Rakhmonov is champ at this point next year. I think the entire division is scared. I think they all realize what's coming. Shavkat Rakhmonov. And my sleeper pick, my dark horse, it's probably just going to have to be Leon. Leon's probably my dark horse. Maybe Bilal. But I don't think Bilal beats Leon.
Ian Gary.
Nah. I think
Ian Gary beats everyone.
I think no.
Ian Gary beats Shavkat Rakhmonov.
So you got Ian Gary as your champ by this point next year?
No, my champ by next year is Rakhmonov, but Ian Gary as my dark horse.
No. Rakhmonov with Leon Edwards as my dark horse, or Bilal Muhammad as my second.
Rakhmonov versus Leon Edwards is actually going to be a really good fight.
I'm in. I think Rakhmonov submits him. All right. Middleweight. Drake is the pussy. Drake is du Plessis is the current champ. I don't think he's going to be champ by this point next year. Who do you have as your pick for champ by next year?
Chimaev.
I just looked at his name, but man, that dude might just retire.
Has some health issues.
He's had some health issues. I don't want to put my money on him. If he was still competing and like at a steady pace, maybe. But he's ranked like 12th here.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. He'd have to beat like 2 more guys and then fight, and he only fights like once a year now.
Yeah.
So I don't think he even makes it to the title by next summer. But I'd agree, he'd be champ if he fought for the title by next summer. But my pick is probably Israel Adesanya as champ by next year at this time.
Okay.
My runner-up, my dark horse, is probably DDP. I don't think Strickland does it. I really don't. Yeah, no. It's either going to be DDP or Izzy. But I got Izzy, and then DDP is my dark horse. What about you?
Khamzat and Sean Strickland.
Man, you're such a hater. I think you're a hater. But all right, fine. You got Chimaev as your champ by next year, and then Strickland as your runner-up. Got it. All right. Light heavyweight. Ankalaev. Ankalaev.
My dark horse, Alex Pereira.
My dark horse, Alex Pereira. I got Alex Pereira as my dark horse, but Ankalaev is champ by next year.
You know what? My dark horse is Dominic Reyes.
Fuck off. All right, we're just going to move on from that since you said that stupid shit. That was so dumb. Maybe Carlos Oldberg, champ by next year, maybe. But nah, Ankalaev, champ by next year, Alex Pereira, dark horse. So now we're on to the most important division, the heavyweight division, the division that has labeled the sport for years. Don't say John Jones, he's going to be retired by next year this time. Please don't say John Jones like he's going to not retire. He's going to be retired. It's Tom Aspinall.
When I look at it,
it's Tom Aspinall.
I believe John Jones because John Jones is going to...
He's going to retire.
John Jones is going to beat Stipe.
And then fight who?
And then
he's going to fight
beat
Tom?
Alex Pereira, and then he will retire as the
Brother, Alex Pereira is not going to go up to heavyweight. He shouldn't. He's just going to get his ass whooped. Be smarter than that, Alex.
But it would be such a good money fight.
Yeah, but if he has those 2 fights within the next year, then he won't be champ after the Alex Pereira fight. When do you think the Alex Pereira fight's going to happen? After this point next year? You're telling me there's going to be an interim champ for an entire year or a year and a half at that point?
He's fighting Curtis Blades. He might not even win that fight.
But then Curtis Blades is just going to be the interim champ.
Curtis Blades won't fight John Jones, though.
So you're telling me that there's going to be an interim champ for another year?
Curtis Blades could fight Sergey Pavlovich.
Yeah, but there'd still be another interim champ.
Yeah.
So there's going to be an interim champ for an entire year.
Because John Jones is dominant in what he's done for the sport, he deserves it.
No, the answer is Tom Aspinall with a runner-up of maybe Curtis Blades. Cyril Gaines sucks. Sergey Pavlovich just proved he sucks. Volkov has already lost to everyone above him. Why is Volkov not higher ranked than Sergey Pavlovich in the heavyweight rankings right now? Volkov just beat Pavlovich. Why is Volkov not above Pavlovich?
Nah, it doesn't work like that.
It does. That's how it works. What do you mean that's not how it works? If you beat a guy, you get higher ranked than him.
I think it was because of, like, the factors in the match.
There's no factors. Volkov dominated Sergey Pavlovich.
Did he?
Yes, at heavyweight with a training camp. It wasn't even short notice. They had like 2 months to prepare, and he dominated him. Why is Sergey Pavlovich still above Volkov in these rankings?
Because of how many people he beat.
It still doesn't make any sense. Volkov is the better fighter than Pavlovich. Why is he not above him in the rankings? He just beat him.
It's interesting.
So stupid. I don't know, man. It's Tom Aspinall as champ at this point next year with a runner-up as Curtis Blades.
Mm-hmm.
And no one else is even close. Volkov has already lost to everyone else. Cyril Gaines sucks, and John Jones is going to retire. So that is our full list for guys that we think is going to be champ by this point next year. You had some pretty casual takes there. Just saying. You're pretty casual, okay? That's why I'm the hardcore and you're the casual, and that's how this show works. From now until the end of time.
The expert.
Nope. You are not an expert. You are a casual. All right. Now we can get into our predictions for this coming weekend. To start off, we're going to do Drew Dober versus Gene Silva. Gene Silva is the guy that just won on the last card, beating Charles Jourdain.
Yeah.
And now he's already fighting on this card, only 2 weeks later, against Drew Dober.
Yeah.
We've got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikov.
Yeah.
And then Rose versus Tracy Cortez.
Okay.
So, to start off, do we want to use the boards?
Or
do we want to just... All right.
Go boards.
All right, we got the boards pulled up. So now, to start off, we got Drew Dober versus Gene Silva. Or John... I think they were pronouncing it John Silva, but it's spelled Gene. But
wait, what division?
This is lightweight, 155.
What are their ranks?
Neither of them are ranked right now, but Drew Dober is 27-13 and Gene Silva is 13-2. Gene Silva's gotten a couple knockouts. Drew Dober has been on a roll recently.
All right. Spelling counts.
No, it doesn't. All right. 3, 2, 1. Gene Silva. All right. Pretty even here. All right. Next up, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikov. Muslim Salikov, I think, got knocked out a couple fights ago by Randy Brown. And Santiago Ponzinibbio, I don't even know right now. Let me check. I think Santiago Ponzinibbio got knocked out by Kevin Holland recently. All right, so Santiago Ponzinibbio's last fight was against Kevin Holland. He got knocked out. Before that, he fought Alex Morano, knocked him out. Before that, lost to Michel Pereira, lost to Jeff Neal, beat someone that I don't know, lost to the Leech, and then beat Neil Magny, Mike Perry, Gunnar Nelson. He went on like a 7-fight win streak before that. But recently he's been getting kind of... Actually, the loss to Jeff Neal and the loss to Michel Pereira were both split decisions.
Were they?
Yeah. So they were both really close fights, but he did get knocked out by Kevin Holland in his last fight. But Muslim Salikov...
Wait, that was the guy Kevin Holland fought last?
Yeah, no. Okay. Kevin Holland has fought a couple times since then. But, and then Muslim Salikov got knocked out by Randy Brown in his last fight, beat by Nicholas Dalby in the fight before that, beat Andre Fialho by a knockout, lost to the Leech, same as the other guy, beat Francisco Chinaldo, beat Zaleski Dos Santos, who just fought Randy Brown, and beat 3 random nobodies, and then lost his first fight in the UFC. So these guys are pretty even on how they've been doing recently. So who do I have, though?
What are the names?
Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikov.
What weight class?
170.
All right, I got it.
All right, 3, 2, 1. You got Muslim Salikov. I've got
Yeah.
Ponzinibbio.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a difference on this card.
Belt on the line.
Belt on the line. All right, next up, Rose versus Tracy Cortez.
What's Rose's record?
13-6.
What's Tracy's record?
I think 11-1. Hold on, give me a second. I just changed it. 11-1. Just to get some stats on this, Rose won her last fight against Amanda Ribas, lost to Manon Fiorot, lost to Carla Esparza in that weird split decision, like they'd never touched each other.
Yeah.
And then before that, beat Weili twice, beat Jessica Andrade, lost to Jessica Andrade before that, but then beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice before that. So her most recent losses were to Manon and Carla, but her biggest loss right here is Manon, who is number one contender in her division. And then Tracy Cortez, 11-1, is 6-0 in the UFC.
Damn.
But all decisions. Hasn't knocked anyone out. Hasn't submitted anyone. All decisions. One of them being a split decision 3 fights ago. Her last fight, unanimous decision, kind of beat her up, 100 strikes to 77. Before that, it was kind of close. Yeah, I think I know who I'm going with.
I got mine.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Tracy Cortez.
Oh, I went with Rose. All right. This is going to be a close one. This might end in a tie, so then I might be able to claim the stupid interim title that you keep on claiming.
Hey, man, interim titles count.
No, they don't. Sorry, but they don't. So you got Tracy Cortez. I've got Rose. You have Muslim Salikov. I have Santiago Ponzinibbio. And then we both have John Silva, however you want to pronounce it. All right. I think we can wrap. I don't really have much else to say. What is the next card after this? Let's see. All right, so yeah, next week is Amanda Lemos versus Viviane Jadarabia. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Co-main event, Brad Tavares versus Park Jun-young. I think that's the Iron Turtle. Yeah, next week's card sucks, man.
Is that bad?
It sucks.
Where's it at?
The Apex.
Oh, man.
I know one name, Billy Algeo, because he's from New Jersey. Yeah, this card sucks, man. Oh, this is going to be a bad week next week. All right, well, look forward to that, everyone. Yeah, that's going to be great for content. Thanks, UFC. All right, other than that, you got anything else? Yep, you got anything else to say before we sign out?
You're a casual.
I got screwed. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Elijah, for coming. This has been the Hardcore and the Casual podcast. I have been your host, Justin. Peace out.